What's going on, everybody? We are back with episode 47 of the Sports On broadcast. I'm joined by Joe this week. Joe, how's it going, buddy?
It's going well, man. 47. Wow, I can't believe it.
Yeah, crazy. In our 15th live broadcast already.
Wow, really moving.
Absolutely. So I am Tyler Edgerton. Let's jump right into the show. We have a lot on tap for you guys this week. First off, let me tell you that you can join in by commenting on any of the feeds on Twitter, Periscope, or Facebook. You can also join in by calling the SE Radio hotline or texting it at 267-404-MYSE. There's a lot of Sixers rumors going around, Joe. Let's jump right into them. We're now getting kind of the players that the Sixers are looking at. Free agency starts on June 1st, and the two names at the forefront would be one, J.J. Redick, who's the shooter they need, and the other veteran, Andre Iguodala, who's already had his turn with the Sixers.
I hear you.
Yeah, I like what I hear in terms of talking about J.J. Redick, but I'm kind of iffy with Andre Iguodala. The Sixers definitely need a shooter. We've talked about that heavily. Andre Iguodala will bring that veteran leadership that they're looking for. Now being in 3 straight finals, having that experience in the postseason, and obviously coming back home where he was drafted would be, I think, a pretty nice ending to his career. But I think we kind of already have an Iguodala type in Robert Covington. I think they're very similar.
He's a stud.
Player.
He's a stud.
And looking at Redick, I think it would be a perfect fit. A lot of people are worried about his defense, but I think that ultimately he's very athletic. He's quick. He seems to be in the right spot defensively anyway. Not that he's a lockdown defender by any means, but he can play a little bit of defense. It's not like you're running Kyle Korver out there who you have no chance at. But yeah, I mean they're definitely good names to bring up, at least in the starting free agency.
Redick definitely provides the shooting that the Sixers are going to need coming off the ball. And then Andre Iguodala, my lasting impression of him is that it kind of turned sour in here. And I don't want to put all the blame on him, but he thought he was a superstar and he didn't carry the team to where we needed him to go.
Oh, man, that hurts.
He's always been a tough shooter. Like he doesn't have the touch that you need. He would bring in the veteran presence that the Sixers desperately need because this team is so young. But I would go the J.J. Redick route if these are the two that they're looking at. But Redick being up there, you don't want to offer him a long-term contract past maybe 3 years. And then there's another guy kind of on the trade block that could be a pretty good fit for the Sixers, especially in Brett Brown's system. That would be Danny Green.
Oh, yes.
Coming over from the Sixers. Coming over from the Spurs, where he was coached by Brett Brown when he was an assistant under Greg Popovich.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I did read a few articles that stated that the price tag they have on Danny Green was pretty high. I did look a little bit into it though. He just turned 30 a few days ago. So I mean, if they were going to kind of go with a 3 to 4 year deal, extend him, I think you could kind of get behind that.
I read the spread.
But with Redick, you know what I mean? He's 33. I don't really think it's somebody you can offer more than 3 years. I guess you figure he would at least be here for 2 years, and then maybe they would try to work a buyout for year 3. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really worried. When you see the price is high for Danny Green, I think it maybe could come down. You see early on, which it is really. I would say in the last 2 years, it's not like the Spurs to be out there like pursuing these free agents and seeing their name out there amongst some of these guys. It's very interesting. So I think if the tag on him for what they really want for him came down, I'd do it. But I would definitely go that route over Redick personally. But it at what cost?
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what they bring up. The problem with it is you have to trade for him, and if they're going to give up somebody like Dario Saric, that's too high a price. Danny Green does bring the shooting, but I do worry a little bit about his defense. Then you also look at some other guys around the league. People are very interested in Gordon Hayward and where he's going to go.
Woo!
He's not going to end up as a Sixer. just because of his ties to Utah. You know, if you figure he moves anywhere, it's going to be with Boston. And then you have guys like Paul George and even Chris Paul trading teams. The Clippers got 7 players in return for Chris Paul. You know, if you're comparing that for the Sixers to go out and get Danny Green, you wonder what they're going to have to give up to get him.
Yeah, I don't think it would cost anywhere near that price tag for Danny Green. But yeah, I mean, it's been unpredictable to say the least as far as the offseason is shaping up for the NBA. I mean, you have all these big name guys that are going to be switching teams. I mean, the Paul George situation, I think it's changing almost every day in terms of teams that, he's interested in going to, or somebody who's pursuing him, whether it be a teammate, that he's played with in the past on international ball at all. And, just trying to bring them in. I read today that John Wall's been trying to get him, to come down there to Washington. So, I think that these rumors are changing every day, and it's it's been crazy. It's been fun to talk about. When's the last time we really talked about basketball like this?
Yeah, it's going to be great going forward as well because of the way that, this team is shaping up. You look at the next 4 years, and the Sixers are going to be contenders by the end of the next 4 years. And they might even take over the town depending on what happens with the Eagles and Flyers and everything else. We'll save that discussion for another day. Let's jump into our quick hit topics and start with the mess, the Cleveland Browns of the NBA. That would be the New York Knicks cutting ties with Phil Jackson, and that experiment just didn't work out.
Yeah, Phil Jackson kind of got old fast, huh? I mean, that situation went down in flames. They should have let that really go down before the draft, I think. But the owner did the right thing in getting him out of there. I think at this point, you might see the tension ease up with Carmelo and Porzingis. I know there's still some rumors about Melo going somewhere else today, but I think that within the next few days you could see some developments where tension comes down. But that was a toxic situation up there in New York.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the Carmelo situation. He requested a buyout, and Phil Jackson didn't grant it to him. There were rumors earlier in the week that he was looking at Washington and Philadelphia as possible landing spots if he were to leave the Knicks. That way he could be, close to his family and where he grew up in New York City. But now we're hearing rumors that he might go to Houston and join with CP3 and James Harden, create their own little big three, try and take down the Warriors. But yeah, just getting back to Phil Jackson, it was an awful experiment. The only good thing that came out of it was that they got Kristaps Porzingis. You look at, you mentioned that they should have caught him before the draft. That's highly possible. I know you can't control this kind of thing, but it looks like, and I just saw a report on this, that their first round pick has already suffered a leg injury. So,
really?
I mean, it's not good. They gave Joakim Noah an extension. They tried the Derrick Rose thing under Phil Jackson, and all those players were running the triangle, and it didn't work out. They weren't good in that system. So you look at Phil Jackson, and great coach. He tries to step in as president, and, they're going to be on their third coach underneath them. So, clearly a failed experiment. But let's look at the bright side of the NBA, and we'll go to Russell Westbrook winning the MVP and the other awards. I don't know if any that you want to bring up, but let's start with Russell Westbrook. Do you think he was deserved of the MVP?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had a monster year. It was like a created player out of 2K, to take it from Kevin Durant's quote today. He was putting on a show every night. He was basically a one-man team for the most part, and that's ultimately why they fell short in the playoffs. But throughout the regular season, I mean, he was fun to watch. There was a lot of hoopla in the media. I'm sorry, all year long about him and Durant, and for him to finish off the year winning the MVP, I think it's well deserved.
Yeah, I agree. Averaging a triple-double is something nothing short of amazing. Like Westbrook, he's one of my favorite players to watch in the league just because of the way he attacks a game. I used to criticize him when Kevin Durant was there that he took over the game, and it should have been Kevin Durant's spot to do that. Now, don't get me wrong, Russell Westbrook is a very good player. I just think sometimes he plays a little recklessly, and but I mean, he really showed up this season. He led that team, which kind of got young, transferred a few players, well deserved, and I think he would have been my favorite for the MVP to begin with. Let's now shift to the Rookie of the Year award because the Sixers fans are upset that Dario Saric did not win after playing in all 82 games. Joe, what was your thoughts on the award going to Malcolm Brogdon of the Bucks?
I was very surprised. After I saw, the all-rookie team come out earlier in the day and I saw the voting percentages for each player, I was like, all right, now it's absolutely a two-player race between Brogdon and Saric. And, when you even look at it nationally, and Stephen A. Smith gets under my skin, and I couldn't help but tune in and watch him talk about the fact that why he thought Malcolm Brogdon should have been the Rookie of the Year, and it pissed me off to no end. He started talking about this man played the full season, and I'm like, dude, did you not even pay attention? Dario Saric only missed one game all year, and he had he averaged more points and more rebounds. Like, come on, what are you talking about? You have no clue, dude. You're so far out of it.
That's exactly what Stephen A. is.
But
he whines.
When yeah, he really does. But when you look at it, I think that you can kind of take it as the Sixers. There's been so much talk about the Sixers, and the fact that they get snubbed out of this really drives me crazy. And the fact that former Sixers coach Doug Collins voted against the Sixers as well really pisses me off. But yeah, I mean, I think he was absolutely snubbed out of it. He really showed growth throughout the year. We talked about him a lot in terms of where he came from day one to the end of the season. And, when Joel Embiid went down and they traded Ilyasova, he really did take on that leadership role, and he was out there every single night, playing 30 minutes a game, really getting earning his spot. And, I think that's really why, they expect him to take a big step and be really a part of the progress going forward.
There you go. Yeah, the two guys that you brought up in the media, Stephen A. and Doug Collins, are avid haters of the tank. They don't understand the concept that the Sixers fans specifically were okay with the tank. They backed it. They understood that's what had to be done.
I want winners.
But just looking at the way he said, like,
he's on fire with the sound.
Yeah, right. The Sounders are throwing us off. There's so many in this show. But yeah, I mean, look at Stephen A. Smith, and to your point, it's neglect on his part to say Malcolm Brogdon played the entire season when
Right.
Dario Saric was the one. But again, you look at the sort of bias. He's a New York fan. You look at the Sixers and the way they've gone about it. We just talked about the dumpster fire that his team is. He could be throwing shots at us. I think Dario Saric was well deserving of the award. Brogdon did some great things in his rookie year as well. And maybe it's a bias for us because we're Sixers fans, but I think if you would poll the entire national media, I think more people would say that Dario Saric made more of an impact in the Sixers' 28 wins as opposed to the Bucks with their winning percentage. And the reason of that is because of Ilyasova. Once they traded him, Dario Saric stepped up. He played injured. He really led that team as a rookie. What more can you say? But let's stick with the rookie theme. And there was a poll that I threw out on Twitter. Now, one of these guys isn't necessarily a rookie, but the question was, what jersey is a must-get this offseason, as 3 of the 4 teams are dormant right now? The choices were Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz, Carson Wentz, or Nolan Patrick, who was drafted by the Flyers, and we'll get into that with Jason Martinez coming up. But the poll right now was Carson Wentz 32%, Fultz 32%, Ben Simmons 29%, and Nolan Patrick only 7%. I was a little bit surprised by that. I feel like if you're going to cast your vote, it's for Ben Simmons to get a jersey. Or to get the jersey of Ben Simmons.
That's extremely close in those top 3, which I can't believe. I mean, I understand right now everyone's hyped up about the Sixers, but none of these guys have played a game yet. Carson Wentz played a full season. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Go out and buy Carson Wentz's jersey if you're buying a young or first or second year player in the league. Go out and buy Carson Wentz. Go get your franchise quarterback's jersey. We already know that's what he is.
And he's already proven it.
Right. He's already proven he can play at a high level, professionally. These guys haven't. Not that I'm saying, don't be excited about them. Absolutely, you should be excited. I'm excited. But, I mean, these guys are unproven commodities. And I know you can make that argument for Wentz as well, but you already saw him on the field, and we already have heard good things about his progression in the offseason. So that's who I'd go with if I'm buying a jersey.
This would be an interesting barroom conversation of who you think will have the better rookie season, Ben Simmons or Markelle Fultz. Fultz is a scorer while Ben Simmons kind of facilitates the floor. And then for you, Joe, who do you think will have the better career long term?
Between Simmons and Fultz?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Hopefully if they're both healthy for the next 10 years, they're on the same team, producing at a high level together, and then we can really have that debate. But I would think in terms of just pure production and dominance, I think that Ben Simmons has the potential to be, top 5 in the league as far as talent goes. And not that I'm not high on Fultz, I am, but I think that he's really a talent that we haven't seen in a while, and I think that he's really going to take the league by storm next year.
Let's transition into the third team that nobody wants to talk about. While there is nothing to talk about other than what we talked about last week, where they got rid of Michael Saunders and Janmar Gomez, the next move that looks like it's coming down the pipeline at the trade deadline would be the Phillies making a move and making Maikel Franco more than available in trade talks. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, he's been very disappointing this season. I mean, the Phillies as a whole, you really don't have anyone you can look to and say that, it's an absolute certainty that guy's going to be on the roster going forward in this long process of a rebuild that it takes for a baseball team. I really thought that they should, demote him, at least for a week or two, just to get back down there and really work on his swing. I know last night he had a big hit, but he's struggled mightily in the first half of the season, and it's been extremely disappointing after coming out his rookie season and really showing what he could do, and then last season was down. But,
hard flush, baby, hard flush.
Showing that he could be a potential building block. So I mean, if they were to trade him, I wouldn't be surprised. But then we also have to get into the conversation of who's going to play third base.
Manny Machado.
Yeah, in what, 2 years? Year or two? Come on, man. I mean, we need somebody to play third now. But I think that I do think that he has tools to be. I mean, he's definitely a major league talent. Don't get me wrong, but I think right now he's just in a slump. And at this point, I feel like if they did trade him, they would not get the value that they could get, let's say, if they really worked on him for another year. And I know it's frustrating because we really want to watch Phillies baseball, but they've been so terrible over the last 2 months or so that they're almost unwatchable.
This isn't necessarily Phillies related, but I am going to relate it back to the Phillies. I don't know if you got a chance to see that Jake Arrieta was called out by Miguel Montero of the Cubs. Last night, they had 7 runners steal a base, and Montero came out after the game and put his pitcher on blast and basically said he's taking too long to deliver to the plate. That's why 7 runners ran on him. Now, the first baseman came out, Anthony Rizzo came out and said essentially that Montero can't say that type of thing about a teammate. They cut him, they demoted him, designated him for assignment. So bringing that back to the Phillies, you look at Odubel Herrera, who's had awful base running mistakes, and there was another guy who did that in his prime as well. Shane Victorino used to make bad mistakes on the base paths. He used to swing in a lot of bad pitches, but he gave you the production that Odubel Herrera is not this season. Do you think they need, and they did fine him for his base running mistake, but do you think they need to look at Odubel Herrera and make a decision on him?
I would say that they're at least going to finish out the year with Odubel on the squad. I don't see them trading him, to be honest with you. I know for all of his hot dog mistakes that he's had over the last month, he's still up there in terms of fielding percentage for center fielder, and I believe he's leading the league in doubles on the month. So I mean, there are a few stats that you can look at and say that he's done a few things, but in terms of just being a straight up hot dog, that stuff's gotta stop. I mean, when you hear that Juan Samuel is starting to get upset with Odubel Herrera, that's when you really know that this guy is a problem.
Certainly. Looks like we have our man on the line right now. He does great work covering the Flyers, and you can hear him on 97.5 The Fanatic Daily. He is the great Jason Martinez on the SC Radio Hotline. Jason, how's it going tonight?
I can see you guys use the term great very loosely.
No, you do fantastic work. And we love joining you. Great job today with Bob Cooney on 97.5 The Fanatic during the mid-time drive. Let's get right into it. Just following social media, I think the fan base was shocked that Nolan Patrick fell to the Flyers. Were you surprised that the Devils selected Nico Hischier instead?
I don't know if I can get a handle on who they like. If you looked at their franchise, well, it's the Devils. They're going to look for the guy that plays 200 feet of ice, big centerman. But they've changed in New Jersey, including the general manager. Lou Lamoriello is no longer the GM. That was his blueprint, and led him to 3 cups in. But now, and his bones in Pittsburgh with high flying talent, and Nico Hischier kind of fits that bill. And really, I think the draft that you kind of go back to, drafting these 2 players for the draft, where there was Trevor Linden, who ended up going to the Vancouver Canucks, and you look at a guy like Mike Modano. Trevor Linden was basically Nolan Patrick, the big set. And Mike Modano was basically the super skilled guy that's like Nico Hischier. Mike Modano's in the Hall of Fame and won a cup with the Dallas Stars in 1999, and it paid off. So if you're looking for a comparative, that's probably a pretty good comparison in the draft to kind of think how things played out this year.
Joe, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I lost you guys for a second there. Hey, Jason. So in Nolan with the Flyers, is he a better fit overall for what the Flyers are going to want to do going forward, or would the Hischier be a better fit with what they're trying to do?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you can really look at fit. When you look at these 2 guys, look, both are 200 feet of the ice, both responsible. Hischier is just a little more of a high-end skilled guy that maybe will butts out of the seats more often. When you look at this, it's not necessarily a fit. Centers up the middle. You want to build your hockey team from your goalie to your defense and be big and strong up the middle. Hischer's not really a big guy. He's got a lot of filling out to do. Patrick's already there. He's got a man's body. Yeah, Nolan Patrick is more ready right now for the NHL game. But in the long term, it's anyone's guess who's going to be the better guy or better fit. Look at today's NHL. Right. It's about 2 things for me. About skill.
Jason, we're trying to fight through.
Nico's going to be a faster player.
We're trying to fight through a little bit of technical difficulties. I hope that you can hear us. After 3 years in the Junior Hockey League, do you believe that Nolan Patrick, with that build that you just mentioned, is ready to start his career in the NHL, or will he be sent down to Lehigh to try and work on some of his skills before they bring him up?
Nah, he's a starting the NHL guy right now. Yeah, what's going on right now, and the season was getting ready to start. He's going to make the Flyers team right out of the chute. He's got the skill set. He's got the body. The between the ears, what it takes to do it. NHL, where you see so many young guys having a lot of success. He'll be from John. Reason why that Braden Shen trade happened was to make room for Nolan Patrick. He's going to be on the team when they start the season.
Jason, we're still having issues. Why don't you hang up and we'll give you a call right back and try and clear up the phone line just a little bit. We'll get in touch with you shortly in a second.
That sounds good.
Sorry about that, guys. It seems like there was a little technical difficulty with the phone line. We'll give Jason a call back right now and get the rest of his thoughts on the Flyers and a great draft that they had. So Joe, what we heard so far, it seems like Nolan Patrick is going to be coming up right away. He's got the man's body, and it's time to go.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a gist. He went in and out on me. But
it looks like we have Jason back. Jason, okay, you there?
Let's go. Yeah.
Can you hear me better now, boys?
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like we can hear. Why is there ringing going on? All right, we'll be right back. Hold on, Jason. Are you calling? Okay. Jason, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that. Apparently, we're not planned for your appearance. Let's get back to what we were talking about. We have Nolan Patrick. Joe had a question for you lined up about him and Provorov. Go ahead, Joe.
All right, Jason. So I saw that that Nolan Patrick actually got a chance to play with Ivan Provorov down in junior hockey. Do you believe that their relationship will be able to carry over and really, help them on the power play and be able to get something established early on?
Well, remains to be seen both on two players here, whether either of them are on the power play. Obviously, there's a power play opening with Shen gone now. I don't know if that's a presumptive spot for a guy like Nolan Patrick. Certainly not out of the gate, in my opinion. I think that he's a guy that, if he shows his skills early, quickly he could be a second power play unit guy, and he starts on the number one power play unit. He could be on power play unit with him. As of right now, the way they have run their power play, and look, we might see a different power play this year with Joe Mullen being replaced by the Flyers. But I don't imagine you'll see a big personnel change other than it's going to be Giroux, it's going to be Shane Gostisbehere, it's going to be Jake Voracek, and it's going to be Wayne Simmons, and whoever fills that other spot where Shen was remains to be seen. But I don't foresee Provorov being to that top power play unit unless there's an injury.
Let's talk about Braden Shen. He's sent to the Blues in exchange for Yuri Laterra and 2 first-rounders. They then select another centerman in Morgan Frost. Let's start with Laterra. What are the Flyers going to get out of the 30-year-old?
Well, somebody has numbers of the last 4 seasons. Big body, a couple years, you get a little bit of savings from Shen. I don't think he's going to find his way in St. Louis. But he's going to find his here, to be honest with you, because I don't know that he's going to get the opportunity or the minutes to play with skilled players. That aspect of his game is forward here. He very well could be fourth player here. You'll see maybe early in the year him maybe playing on a second line to see if develop some chemistry, but he's going to be a third or fourth lineup bottom six forward, and I don't think he's going to do anything that's going to blow anybody away. You're going to have to get that scoring that you gave up with Shen, those 25 goals and 17 power play goals from somebody else, because it's not going to come from him. He had 7 goals last year. At this point in his career, 29 years old, heading to 30, he kind of is what he is. Most guys don't all of a sudden turn into 29 goal scorer or 25 goal scorers when they hit 29, and I don't expect that to be with him.
We're on the line with 97.5 The Fanatics, Jason Martinez. Jason, why don't you tell the people about the new podcast that you'll be hosting for the diehard Flyers fans out there?
Well, yeah, it's not just actually a Flyers podcast. The first couple of episodes kind of focused on that a little bit. It's called Stick to Hockey because radio, and I have an opinion on anything that's not hockey related. Everybody tells me to stick to hockey. That's how it kind of got started. We kind of fought it for years, and people have been telling me to do it for a while, and I just with my schedule, especially during the season, it's pretty tough. And I know everybody can management duties at the video station as well, and then also Flyers games, but to a point here lately with lack of conversation about hockey on the radio that let's do it. So we did it. We taped our first 2. People have been back so far. It's been a lot of fun. It'll be just Flyers. We're going to go around the NHL. We're going to get into the AHL, and we're going to get into some strategies and different intricacies of the game. Don't know about some of the explain them to you, or if you do, conversations, and then we'll get into equipment and all kinds with the connections that I have, and now for 10 plus years working for an NHL team. So let's get Chris Pryor, director of week for the episode. We had the general. We're going to be getting a lot of players that play both for the Flyers and around the NHL and have played, alumni, announcers that over the years. And I'm going to catch. We're going to bring in some of the biggest names in hockey and discuss the greatest sport in the world.
Sounds great. We'll definitely be tuning in. Let's switch lanes now and get your read on the rest of the teams in the city. What are your overall thoughts on the Sixers now completing the tank and ready to start winning games again?
Games, guys, that was a rah-rah process is great. Kind of ambivalent on it. I like it because PA has screwed up its CBA where Sixers did for 4 years to become a good team of sport. I think the ends of it. Going to have teams. If this works for the Sixers, how many teams are doing that? Security of the sport. That's how much games when you play sports for the purpose of losing them. That's not good. But that being said, look, they have the coverage, talent and prospect players there. But again, because the NBA has a one and done rule in college, kids don't know if Cal Fultz is going to be any better than 4. He's 19 years old. This kid's barely got hair in his armpits yet, and we're depending on him to be a savior, and nobody knows how to have to put a razor on his face. I hope they turn it around, become a good team, become relevant again, because generation years didn't have basketball in this town, and that's a freaking crime.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at least the Flyers put a product out there that competes every night. You have the Eagles who are trying to make the steps as well. You're absolutely right in the fact that, the fans were robbed for 4 years, but now they finally have something to cheer about. And do you agree with the notion that the Sixers could be the ones to take over this town?
Yeah, they can be, because the excitement right now is off the charts. I've always loved basketball in this town for 4 years, and when something goes away for that long and it comes back with reckless abandon, which you're going to have here with Joel Embiid, and Fultz, and Simmons, and Dario Saric, and whoever decides to join the party, excited about it. And look, it all just comes down to one thing. It comes down to winning. Go bananas. If you lose, you get cursed out, and eventually they become apathetic towards.
Something the Phillies definitely aren't doing enough of these days. Let's transition in. What are your expectations for all 4 teams over the next calendar year? That is including the Phillies, who have a lot of work to do.
Well, at this point, I'll have to start with the Phillies. The Phillies, the bad part is they don't know what the hell they're doing. Claiming this plan of money, and I got news for the Phillies. They're not going to be able to just buy guys. If Bryce Harper's not coming here because you got money, have offers places that can money. Will have the same amount of money. Build the Boston Red Sox, Major League Baseball. I'm going to start putting a product on the field that actually they're right now. But they need to start becoming relevant, clearly overmatched, rough shot, and no respect for a fight to be done there. When you look, we talked about that. It's a tough spot. Doing free agency. Eagles could go, and the Eagles is going to be. You added all these players, and now Sean Jeffrey and Torrey Smith and LeGarrette Blount and so many other players they drafted, some would say pretty well with it. Sidney Jones probably won't be much of a contributor this year, but our team that should be improved. And I look at the Eagles and I say, if you don't make the playoffs, it's time to fire the coach. So I think the coach is the weakest link in the city. He's the biggest question mark for a lot of people. For me, he's not a question mark, and he's not an NFL coach, not a head coach.
Yeah, we agree.
So,
go ahead, Jason.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Joe and
I
I both agree that Doug Peterson has a lot to prove in his second year before he gets the boot.
Look, if he doesn't do it this year, and I see the same stupid mistakes he made last year, make calls, the same things of the lead blocker. He just came out from concussion protocol, and it's sayonara Doug. And I don't think, I know a lot of people want to give him another chance. He seems like a very nice gentleman. NFL head coach, he's a coordinator, but I just don't think that he's ever going to be capable of being an NFL head coach. Sure. Will I be wrong?
Jason, we keep losing you. We really appreciate you taking some time out on the show tonight, and we look forward to talking to you down the road as we clear up some of these technical difficulties. Thanks again for your time.
All right, boys. Good luck.
That was Jason Myrtetus from 97.5 The Fanatic. You can follow him on Twitter at Jason Mert. Hopefully next time he's on the show, we won't have it cutting in and out. We will take a quick break. We will come back and answer some of the questions you guys might have. You can also chime in at 267-404-MYSE if the phone lines are still available. We will be right back.
Support our podcast by using mysportingedge.com/Amazon to make your next online purchase.
You're listening to SE Radio, brought to you by Sporting Edge, online at mysportingedge.com. Sporting Edge. Follow us on Twitter at SportingEdge1 and like us on Facebook by searching Sporting Edge.
Support our podcast by using mysportingedge.com/Amazon to make your next online purchase.
You're listening to SE Radio, brought to you by Sporting Edge, online at mysportingedge.com.
Hey guys, welcome back into episode 47 of the Sports On broadcast. I am joined by Joe Fabiani this week. We're doing the best we can. Joe, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, guys? So yeah, I'm not sure how much you guys took out of our conversation with Jason. It was very choppy, unfortunately. We'll do a better job in getting that cleared up in the future. It's not going to be the first, and it is the first, and it won't be the last time we talk to Jason. We apologize for that. But he did have some interesting stuff to say about the Flyers, and going forward with Nolan Patrick, it seems like he's very high on him, so that's promising. Let's kind of stay on course here, and we'll wrap up. He touched on how he thinks Doug Peterson isn't cut out to be a head coach in the NFL, and he's simply just going to be a coordinator. I don't necessarily agree 100% with that, but I can see where he's coming from. He's never been too high on Doug Peterson, as a lot of people aren't.
And we analyzed that all season. Joe and I went back and forth on the earlier podcast before we were live. Last season we criticized him for a hell of a lot of things, including the 3rd and 2 challenges that he would use, and the miscommunications that he would have, and throwing people back in when they had concussion protocol like Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not high on Doug Peterson. We definitely echo that sentiment along with Jason, but I think we're willing to give him more of a shot than Jason is.
Yeah, I think, he did say that, obviously if he doesn't get, if there's no progress within this year, then obviously he's gone. So he's still leaving the back door open. I mean, he is very low on him, but he's still leaving the door open so he can swing right in there if Dougie P surprises some people. But, overall, we really only touched on the draft and then got some Eagles insight. I don't know if did we get to the who was the next team to win a championship?
No, we didn't get to that point, but Just looking back at Nolan Patrick, one of the things that Jason said that really caught my eye is he is NHL ready to go. This was a 2-player draft. The Devils took Nico Hischier, which left Nolan Patrick for the Flyers, and it looks like he's ready. He's got the build, and he's built better than Nico Hischier. Jason believes that he'll be ready for the grind of the 82-game season.
Yeah. I read a couple articles earlier today, and that's something they're very excited about. Him being back to 100% health, and if you look back 2 years ago when he was healthy, he absolutely destroyed the juniors. I think he finished with 102 points and I think it was high 60s or even a little bit low 70s in terms of games. But he's a total package player, and I think that they really got a really good player. He's a good two-way player, like Jason alluded to. He's a big body guy. It's somebody that I think that we're going to be able to get excited about because he is a big guy. I mean, I know the knock on Claude Giroux is his size, and I think that this guy is going to add a different dimension to this team that they haven't had in some time at the center position.
Joe, let's look at one of the later questions that I asked them. What are your expectations for all 4 teams in the next calendar year?
I would say that year 2 I'll start with the Eagles. Year 2 for Carson Wentz is going to be huge. You're going to have to see where he's progressing.
It's going to be
really what
huge.
He's worked on, if his delivery's changed, if it's quicker. I I think there might be a little bit of growing pains in the first maybe 2 or 3 games with the new receivers. I know he's getting with his receivers a lot, but it's different come game time. So I think we're going to see a little bit of that work out. But I think that the Eagles are going to be, like I said before, in between that 6 to 10 win, depending on how their defense shapes up going forward. But I would expect them to be on the brink of making the playoffs. And then, moving into the Sixers, I think that, after they make a few free agent acquisitions, I think we'll be able to break them down a little bit better. But I think that, they'll be able to win anywhere from 30 to 40 games, depending on the pickups they make and the health. If they're all healthy and they make the right moves with free agency, I think that they could win, between 38 and 42 games. But we'll see. I think ultimately, if they really get it right, that they'll be contending for a lower seed playoff spot. But and then moving into the Flyers, I think that their youth movement is coming. I know that we're really just starting to get out of that that Paul Holmgren ridiculous contracts phase where they were really strapped down with the salary cap. So we're moving towards something with the Flyers, and I know this is the second year in a row that you're seeing national media speak about the prospects the Flyers get, or I'm sorry that they have in the juniors going to college. Just all the assets they've attained so far, the national media is very high on, and even Jason has spoken about that before. So I think that they're building something long term, and I think that's one of those sports where it's also a slow build because it's more of a team game. I think people are more excited about the Sixers because basketball, I feel like the chemistry flows faster just because there's not as many players on the team. But getting back to the Flyers, I think that they're still 2 years away from really being competitive in the playoffs, I would say. I think that it's possible they could be on the brink for a playoff spot, but they're right on the edge. It's really gonna have to see what they look like coming out of camp because they could have a lot of young guys on their team, guys from 19, 20, 21, and not just the center spot or the winger spot, like all over in the backup goalie situation. So they're really gonna have a young team this year, and I think it would be a lot to say that they're gonna be a playoff team, but to be in it and be on the brink, I think is more reasonable. And as far as the Phillies go, they really haven't had any guys, like I said, jump up and really take that next step to really show you to be, cornerstone.
The laughing stock of the league.
Yeah, they haven't found that cornerstone yet. So, I think that they're at least 3 or 4 years away, unfortunately, and it's tough to say out loud. I know people are, relying on the Manny Machados, the Bryce Harpers, on the Mike Trouts of the world. But I mean, those guys aren't going to want to come here if they're not going to have anybody to join with and play with. And they really have to start developing their prospects. I know they have a few guys down on the farm that are performing well. You got Royce Hoskins is playing well at first base in AAA. They just called Scott Kingery up from AA to AAA, who's started well. I believe I read he played 2 games so far. He's 3 for 10, so he's batting 300, and he started out well up there. J.P. Crawford's average just crept over 200. Finally, I'm not really worried about his defense, but I'm worried about him at the plate. But he still is very young. I believe he just turned 22. I could be wrong. It might be 23, but he's still very young. And I think that those are the guys you're looking towards, and obviously Nick Williams as well down there. Their AAA team is very good. If you ever have a chance to get up to Lehigh, I know you've seen some minor league baseball this summer so far, Tyler. So they do have some exciting pieces in the minors, but until that translates to the big leagues, I mean, you really can't speak to say because baseball is such a long-term build. So like I said, I would expect 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, I got to check out my 3rd game of the Reading Fightin' Phils last week, and Scott Kingery, he's really impressive. I was looking at the stats. He's leading that league in home runs, batting average, on-base percentage. He definitely deserved the promotion. And going out to Reading is just a great time. I really want to make it up to Lehigh as well to see the higher-up prospects. But just kind of my opinion on the next calendar year for all 4 teams, it kind of echoes what you said. I think the winter teams have the best chance of making the playoffs. Let's start with the Eagles. I think I'm a little higher on them than you are. I believe that the Eagles, especially with the offense, if it clicks quickly, I think they have a chance to win upwards of 11 games. Now, I think they'll probably win around 9 or 10 games. But I'm really interested to see. You compare him to Dallas, who was the best team in the NFC last year. They didn't have a very good defense, but they had an offense that was able to run the ball, control the clock, and they didn't make mistakes on defense. That kept them in games. So I don't think the Eagles are anywhere close to 14-2 like the Cowboys should have been last season, but I definitely think they're going to make a significant step up if, once again, Doug Peterson doesn't get in the way. As far as the Sixers and Flyers go, I think they'll both be contending for a spot around 6 to 8. I think they'll both have a chance to go around 500, and I wouldn't be surprised if Nolan Patrick steps in and really makes a difference in his first season, as Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz will as well. Really excited in the future of Philadelphia sports other than the Philadelphia Phillies. And what can we say? Another showdown.
Yeah, another showdown. Number 47. Now is that total shows going back to the old days?
That would be total shows. We are going into our third football season. We're creeping up on 50. I got an idea for 50
love
too.
The Sounders. I love it.
We're creeping up on 50. We got a good idea for that that we'll discuss at a later time with you guys. But looks like that's going to wrap up episode 47. I'm going to throw it to Joe, and he's going to close it down.
All right, guys. As always, I had a great time hanging out with you guys tonight. But, really apologize for the technical difficulties. It's something we're still tinkering with the phone call aspect of our show. We really apologize for that. We're going to do better. We're still, getting this thing going, and it's a learning process. But we're committed to this, so I promise you the production value will be a lot higher next show when we bring him on, or any phone call on, by that matter. We'll get to work on that. But, it's a great time hanging out and taking your comments. And like I say every week, shoot us a message. Get on the phone line, leave us a message. Let us know what we can do to, better your experience and hanging out with us every week. We really appreciate it. But as always, guys, great time hanging out. You can check us out on mysportingedge.com for all your latest news, articles, and updates. Check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, obviously. You can head over. I believe we're on Periscope too now, Tyler, for our shows as well.
YouTube.
And YouTube. Go subscribe to our channel. But all right, guys, we'll catch you next week. Thanks for hanging out.